Hey everyone, so I'm doing my second annual garden tour. So I did my first one last year at the end of July, so it's that time of year again. And so I'm going to be walking through and just showing some of the changes from last time around. And for those of you, friends and family that linked in from Facebook and wondering why am I walking through my yard talking about plants, well, if you're into food forests, edible landscapes, organic gardening, permaculture, this is kind of one of the weird things you do. There's a lot of videos where people do garden tours. So it's like a video blog, and it's a great opportunity. If you're an expert, please throw down comments. If you have any questions or anything about something I have planted, just please ask that. Keep in mind, I'm in Florida Zone 9B. That's my agricultural zone. So some of the stuff I grow here, you may not be able to grow where you're at. And so here I'm growing tropicals and subtropicals, probably some other stuff that's more of a temperate climate. But I can get away with growing tropicals here. We do get cold, but you just got to find the microclimates in your yard, and a lot of times you can get those tropicals to push through the colder parts of the winter if they've got some, they got a windbreak or they got trees over top creating a, kind of a thermal blanket. So anyways, I'll jump into it, and so I'll start out first. So this is my Serum Cherry. I talked about that last year, and so this was actually more productive for me this year, and so it had enough to where I actually could share with the kids and my wife, and so I had to share with them this year, and then the birds as well. So, but I think these are volunteers over here. These are smaller ones, so I'll have these for a long time. But this is the red variety. There's a black variety. So I've been planting pineapples up here. So anytime I get a pineapple top from the store, or I get a pineapple top from a pineapple that I've grown, I'm going to go ahead and plant that and get it started. They're pretty resilient through our winters. You don't want to get any colder than what we have here for pineapples, but they do really well for us. I had 3 produced this year, which is a slow year for me on pineapples. Actually, I'll show you those here in a minute. And so this right here is actually, it's an honorable mention because this is an ornamental. This is I think it's called a sweet almond. So it's very floral, has a very strong fragrance, brings in the pollinators, so that's good. So you can get your trees pollinated, and you get more production out of them. So I got this from my wife's grandparents up in Kentucky. It grows more like out of a bush. And so this was some of the undergrowth. It had rooted, so I was able to get this to start, and it's looking like it's hanging in there, doing all right. And some of you may recognize some of the leaves on it. If you're familiar with stone fruits like peaches, almonds, nectarines, that's all the stone fruit family. That's why you recognize those, is because it's it's a sweet almond, so it falls in that family of trees. So I'm gonna go over here. So my wife knows the way to my heart, and she bought me this Groomy Chama. Well, actually, I helped her. I went and picked it out. So we got this from the local nursery, Kirby's. So I actually want to collect all the tropical cherries. So Serum Cherry being one of them, Groomy Chama. I got Dwarf Barbados Cherry, Jamaican Cherry. If you know of any others, I know there's the cherry of the Rio Grande. I don't have that one yet, but if you know of any others, you want to throw them in the comments. So I kind of want to collect all of them. So, but anyways, so this is supposed to be pretty good for our area. It can handle temperatures down to 28 degrees. I will have to compete with the birds as well, because the birds will go after these. But while I'm up here, I want to show you real quick. So kind of the magic in the food forest, is just letting God's creation just kind of do its thing. And so one thing that you want to do is put down organic material, a mulch layer. So let me just show you here. So I want to show you the soil. Well, this one's pretty deep right here. Okay, there we go. So you can see how black the soil is. So being in Florida, it's very sandy here. And so this is one way you can build it up and actually have some good looking soil. So this actually reminds me of the soil from, when I was a kid in Ohio. It was black and rich and everything. So so this is gold if you're into this type of gardening. So and this mulch, I'm not getting it from the home improvement stores. What I do is I call a local tree service, so I've been teleworking, and so I'm sitting, at one of my front windows. If I see a tree service come by, I'll run out the door and flag them down and tell them when they're done with their tree work, they can come and drop the wood chips in my yard, because they don't want to have to pay to dump them. So this is a pile right here that I'm working through. Haven't had the time to finish it off, but I just did a couple loads the other night, spreading the wood chips out. But this is better than what they get at the home improvement stores, because it's got a lot of green material, has that leaf material in it, which helps with the breakdown. And so the stuff from the home improvement stores, naturally it keeps longer. That's what you want. You don't want to have to remulch every time you turn around. So I understand why people would get that, but this stuff from the tree services breaks down much quicker. So that's the front yard. So come over here. So this is, last year I kind of called this my mini food forest. This little area, I was throwing all kinds of different things in here. I've cleaned it up a lot, although it has gotten overgrown. And it's what's kind of overgrown, what's taken over, and what took over last year was the Cranberry Hibiscus. Very good tasting leaf on it. Makes a good drink. My wife's going to try that this year. We didn't try it last year, so I don't know what the drink tastes like, but there's apparently some pods that you can use. So we had to clean up out a bunch of that stuff last year, because it just takes over. You could actually, I recommend, if you need a quick hedge for your yard, you could probably plant, some Cranberry Hibiscus several rows deep, maybe 3 or 4 rows deep, and it grows real quick. So it'd probably actually make a decent hedge if you kept it up. So probably not as good as like some type of bush, but again, it'd create a kind of visual barrier. So this papaya here, so this was like, I don't know, 6 inches tall in my last video. So as you can see, it shoots right up. So it's not really like a tree. It will last maybe 6 or 7 years, but anyways, it's got some fruit on it. I have one in the back that's much bigger. The only thing, it's getting like some type of maggot inside of it. So some of the fruit's good, some of it goes bad. So, and then right here you'll see on the ground where I have this. So this is the stuff that I've chopped and dropped here is this is Mexican sunflower. So I got it growing here. So that's Mexican sunflower, and so it's nitrogen fixing. It pulls nitrogen out of the air, and so you just grow it in place, chop it, drop it, and you got free fertilizer. So and I want to try maybe like mulching it up and maybe making a liquid fertilizer out of it and seeing how that works. So so that's kind of, I have that several places in the yard. So and then right here is an Napale cactus. So I bought 3 pads of these off of the Food Forest Facebook, the Florida Food Forest Facebook group. It's a pretty good group if you're not a part of it. And so a young lady was selling those on there, and so that's how it's doing. And so you can eat the pads off of this. I think it does grow a little prickly pear on it that you can eat, like a fruit, but so you can eat the pads on it. It's kind of maybe like having green beans, I guess is what they say. We haven't tried it yet, but we just thought we'd get a couple of those and see if that's something we would include in our cuisine. So I did have Mysore Raspberries back here, but they didn't really like it, so which is fine. They weren't really productive, so raspberries I don't think are meant for Florida. So all right, and more pineapples down in there. Also, I have blueberries down in here. So blueberries, I've heard someone else say it online, they just don't do good in this wood chip environment. I have had blueberries do well, like growing them in pine bark, because they like the acidity of the pine bark and pine needles. So I'll probably grow those, but I won't grow those in a polyculture type situation. I'm gonna grow it in a monoculture, just blueberries and pine bark, and just keep up with them. And they're actually pretty resilient just on their own, but they just don't do good in this type of situation, in a food forest situation. You see fig and pomegranate, so that's the fig, there's pomegranate. Again, I said this last year, they're desert plants. They don't do as good here. I have some ideas for how I can get figs to produce here, so I'll work on that in the future. There's one of my pineapples that actually produced this year. So I just saw a video online. So it's a gentleman who has the What's Ripening channel, and I forget his name, but he put what he call odorific weeds like around his pineapple, because if you keep them on there long, you let them ripen on the plant. Once that sugar starts to release an odor, the possums, raccoons, they'll smell it and they will eat those things right up. So you really can't. It's hard or you want to avoid letting your pineapple ripen on the plant. Well, what he does is like I said, he takes those odorific weed or whatever, and he puts it on the plant. So I tried it. I have some actually right out here. So if you guys ever see these in your yard, let me see. These have a really strong smell. So I just tried that. I put some on there, and nothing's eating it. So you see the yellow on there. It's ripening. So it's at the stage where something would try to eat it, but maybe that smell is keep preventing anything from eating it. So I think it works. So you'd much rather have your pineapples ripen on the plant, because and when they're a solid yellow, because you can't beat that taste. If you buy one, you can't buy one from the store that tastes as good as a fully ripened pineapple that's been ripened on the plant. So this right here, kind of proud of this one. This is my mango tree I bought it from a guy. He grew it from a seed. He called it a pineapple mango, but again, it's from seed, so it can't be a certain variety. It wasn't a grafted cultivar or anything. So, but anyways, it's I just love how tall it's grown, and that long trunk. So this thing was tiny when I got it, so it's doing really well. I know I see others where they clip them down and they try to keep them short, but I don't know. I like the way it looks, and plus, once this thing starts producing, if I have a problem with critters, eating the mangoes, I can always put a cone on this and try to prevent critters from jumping up there and getting a hold of the mangoes. So over here is my Dwarf Barbados Cherry. So this right here is rich in vitamin C, but it doesn't really have much taste, just a little bit of sweetness to it. I have a regular Barbados cherry in the back, which I'll show you, and those have more flesh and taste much better. So and the thing is this area, the dynamic of this area is going to change, because as the foliage starts to expand on the mango tree, it gets very thick. It's going to shade this area out. So I'll probably have to adjust things as the years go by in this area. Some more pineapples right here. Turks Hibiscus hedge. Flowers are edible. So there's a flower right there. You eat the tip of it. So as we come around that Turks Hibiscus hedge, there's a big difference in this area here from last year. So this is what I call my tropical tropical microclimate, because it's protected by this hedge here. It's got an overstory over top, and so during the winter, these tropicals do rather well in this, against the cold weather. And so I noticed that online when I'm watching the different gardening videos, gardeners typically will gravitate towards a particular type of plant, and I found for me that's become the banana. I've come a long ways because last year I couldn't even pronounce the most popular variety of banana in the world. That's Cavendish. Um, but now I've gotten to where if I coming out of a plant sale, I have to have a new variety of banana. And so the two varieties that I had last year, Dwarf Cavendish, and then this is the blue Java or ice cream banana. I just call it ice cream banana. So this is the only one that's produced so far this year. So there's the bananas there. It's probably about, I guess, because there's like 5 or 6 hands, 12 bananas per hand. So maybe 72 bananas total. And so I got some young ones popping up here because typically, I just keep a what they call the grandfather. So this would be the grandfather, the one that's producing, the son, and then the son and the grandson. So this one will be cut down once the bananas are done, and so this will become the grandfather, son, and there's the grandson right there. So that little one right there has popped up. That pup, I'm going to give that to my aunt. So, but yeah, I don't want too many in here because when bananas are very hungry, and if they're fighting for nutrients, and they're not going to be as productive. So you want to manage the amount of bananas that are in your quorum. So this over here, this area here, that's the Dwarf Cavendish. And I actually, because I didn't really know much about bananas at the time and all the varieties and the different tasting ones, I just kind of started expanding the Cavendish bananas as the new pups were coming up. I'm going to stop doing that because Cavendish is a store variety. I can just go to the store and get those. What I want to grow is the varieties that you can't get at the store, like the dessert varieties that are not very marketable. So the Cavendish, they'll keep for a long time. They're very presentable, nice color. But these other varieties have much better taste. So the ice cream banana is supposed to be one of the best ones as far as taste goes. So that's what I want to transition to. I'll keep some Cavendish, but I'm not going to keep spreading them out across the yard. So another variety. So this right here is more of an ornamental, but it produces, from what I understand, and a lot of these I have, or actually all of these, other than the Cavendish, I haven't tasted. But so this right here produces a dessert banana. It's more ornamental, as you can see by the color. So this is a Sumatrana cross with the Grand Am. So Grand Am is the Chiquita variety. So this right here is a Dwarf Brazilian. Supposed to have good taste and cold tolerant. Now the thing is as you saw, the ice cream bananas were a full-size banana. But what I want to do is I want to start shifting towards the Dwarf varieties because these will hold up better in the winter because they're not as exposed. Where the ice cream bananas are very tall, can be more exposed to the wind, the cold wind during the winter. So these Dwarf varieties will hold up better for me. And so recommend the same thing if you're in the subtropical zones. So this right here is a Lacatan, and so this is the commercial variety of choice in the Philippines. It's supposed to be better tasting than the Cavendish. This right here, we got some mulch from our local waste processing facility, where the processed yard waste, because I put that in my garden, breaks down real nicely. But this was a volunteer, and typically that mulch is very hot and it kills everything in it. But this is a candlestick plant. I think it's more of like a tree, but it was called a candlestick plant. It produces a beautiful yellow flower on it. Kind of, I guess it's more upright, so that's why they call it a candlestick. This is a legume, so it's a nitrogen fixer. So I have this here for that reason, that it's gonna I'll let it grow up and then probably prune it heavily, drop that material down, let it break down and fix nitrogen into the soil. So this right here is a double Mahoy. I think it's how they pronounce it. And so it's a mutant because it will produce 2 or sometimes 3 racks of banana at the same time. I do regret. It's nice to have, but it's not going to do me any benefit. It's not going to give me any more bananas, because if you just saw the ice cream banana, it didn't produce the full rack of bananas. It only produces enough banana up to the point in which it has enough nutrients. And so it's kind of a challenge to produce a full rack of bananas in Florida. So it's probably not going to get me any more bananas, even though it's, produces a double or triple rack. So this right here is another pineapple that it's almost ripe. I'm actually going to pick it after I'm done with this. And as you can see, I got a cage on it. I got the door open, and I got these 2 center blocks on there. Again, to keep the raccoons and the possums out. So I did this before I learned about putting the odorific weeds on there to help block the smell. But it worked. So, but that's going to be a very good pineapple because, again, it was able to ripen. It's that nice, beautiful yellow color. So it's going to be much better than anything we can get at the store. This right here is an avocado that my grandma planted a long time ago from seed. I had it in a pot for 10 years, and so it's probably about 16 years old, and it should be much bigger, but it probably should be bigger, but it's again, it was in a pot, so its growth was stunted. So it's growing, and I'm guessing maybe in another 5 years I'll have avocados off of that. Now it is from seed, so when you don't have a good cultivar, you're not guaranteed like big production, or you don't know what it's going to even produce. But if you go to the store and get your cultivated varieties, then you can get some that produce early, or you get some that produce they'll produce at 5 years, or they'll be heavy producers or whatever. So you don't know what you're getting when you get it from seed, but I think it's kind of fun to grow things from seed though. This over here is a Dwarf Puerto Rican. These 3 right here are Dwarf Puerto Rican plantains. And so my wife has a friend that taught her how to properly make plantains. So we love them in our household. So now the plantains are more susceptible to the cold weather. These are dwarf varieties, so they should do okay. They're not going to be a large plantain, but that's fine. This right here, just something I'm kind of proud of. So I had a coworker that had a star fruit tree. It produced a ton of star fruit, so he brought in some of the extra fruit to work, and so I got a couple of them, and I got one of the seeds out of one of them and planted it, and I kind of babied it. So I started it, and it was in a little cup, and I had it in a wagon that was pulling in and out of my garage during the winter, because small tropicals are really susceptible to the cold weather. But so I babied it all winter and got it this tall. I may have to kind of cover it during the colder months of the year because it is still kind of small. But these do really well in an understory situation. They're heavy producers. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what this does for me. Right here is the Cadillac of the subtropics for banana trees. This is the Dwarf Namois. So it has a really good tasting banana, and it recovers much better after the winter. So if you have a cold winter, this will do much better in recovering than any of these other types of banana trees. So that kind of covers all the different varieties of bananas I have. So over here I have a wild citrus tree, and I don't know if it's going to be a grapefruit or whatever. There is a grapefruit in the neighbor's yard, right on the other side of the fence. So that's what I guess it's going to be. Squirrels may have kind of chewed on a grapefruit, and the seeds got over here. So we'll just let it grow and see what turns out to be. This right here is my Japanese plum, or a loquat, and it's getting pretty big. I think it should produce. It has not produced yet, but it should produce starting next year. So these are very delicious, and you don't find them in the stores. I don't think they keep that long, but you can make jelly and pies and that kind of stuff out of them. They are really good just to eat them right off the tree. And then I have a mango tree over here. And then over back in here, so I have I gotta get to them. I have some pineapple plants that I put in here. They were still in pots from when I moved, and I never had a chance to get them in the ground. But this is a like an ornamental variety, so it doesn't taste as good and it's very prickly. But I got to get some gloves at some point and get in there and get that off so we can eat it. And this area over here, I got some bamboo growing. I'm starting to kind of clean it up. The bamboo will serve as like as a windbreak and just a way to protect the plants. So once I get this area, to the right, all cleaned up. So I did have a passion fruit planted in here, but I was in here mowing the other day, and there's some bees in a log. I hit the log with my lawnmower, and the bees came after me. So I think I hit I ran over the mango or the passion fruit,